The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience 2020 Northern Trust early picks and research and first look. Get you ready for the first leg of the 3-week FedEx Cup playoffs. This is going to be the final full field event of the 2020 PGA season. We have 125 players in the field, the top 125 in the FedEx Cup standing. So I'm recording this after round 3 of the Wyndham Championship. Hot tip on the Wyndham Championship, Pat Mayo. Don't play it next year. Not great for your boy Pat Mayo over here. Although, Kim currently in first place. As people who watched the show last week know that I only played him on DraftKings and didn't bet him. I pulled the reversal for the first time ever, so maybe being free from the Mayo curse is really propelling him up. I wish nothing but the best for Siwoo Kim. As long as Tyler Duncan can sneak his way inside the top 5, all good with me. I'm rooting for you, Siwoo. Go close this down. Although we've seen Siwoo in this position a few times, and it hasn't gone great. And there's a few decent, capable chasers, and maybe all of a sudden, like Rob Oppenheim wins. Who the hell knows? But either way, it should be a fun conclusion. But I'm looking forward to the Northern Trust because my week is essentially over as it pertains to the Wyndham Championship. If you are looking for the Listeners League link, you can find that in the description of this video and podcast. Also, smash the like button for the video and give me your early lean for the Northern Trust. This is a great field. This is like a major-esque field. I've talked about it a bunch of times in the previous years, but the first 2 playoff events are probably 2 of the toughest fields of the year. When we go back and look at some of the past champions at TPC Boston, it's like a who's who of who's pretty good at golf, at least over the past 10 years. You don't see a lot of scrub winners at a lot of these playoff events. Same thing with WGC, same thing with majors. When you get the collection of all the top players in the world around, turns out one of them probably ends up winning. Not great for long shots, so we'll try to break down how that works out with DraftKings once the pricing ends up being released. The field is loaded into fantasynational.com right now. If you go to fantasynational.com/Mayo, get yourself 20% off. It's really easy stuff. /Mayo. That's all you need to do to save yourself 20%. So we have a field loaded in right now of the current 100 and top 125 players, although that is going to change after the Wyndham Championship, probably by about 2 to 4 players, depending on how players like Rafa Cabrera-Bello and Shane Lowry end up finishing on Sunday. They can still sneak their way in and bump out guys. I know Bo Hogg is still playing right now, but like he could get bumped out. There's a bunch of them that could get bumped out. So you might as well just wait for the finalized field. Once the betting odds get released after the conclusion of the tournament, then we're going to know who the top 25 are. Or you can just go to like PGA Tour and find out like the live leaderboard. I'm sure they're going to mention it on the broadcast if it's not tape delayed again, but that's neither here nor there. Rate the podcast 5 stars and some news, which I need your help bigly with. And it's not going to cost you a dime. It's going to cost you like 10 seconds. The Pat Mayo Experience video podcast is currently on the DraftKings YouTube channel. That is going to be changing in around like 10 days. It's going to be going over to the Mayo Media Network. Yeah, it's fun times. Currently has 0 subscribers. That's fun. We can rebuild from scratch on everything right now. I have posted the link to that channel in the description of this video and podcast. If you could please go to it and subscribe to the channel. That way you're not going to miss when the show shifts over and you're going to be like, hey, where's the show? And like, oh, it's actually right here. Nothing's really going to change. It's just a new platform for everything. That's essentially the only thing that's changing. So if you want to catch Jeff and I talking about Monday golf or DraftKings picks, football's coming back soon. We got some fun win total shows, prop shows all coming out that you're going to be able to find that on Mayo Media Network. I don't even think you can search for the link because it's a brand new channel. That's why I've posted the link down there. So tell some people, and if people are looking for the show after it goes away, please be very nice. Be like, hey, you can catch Mayo's full shows over here, and just paste the link underneath of it. That would be fucking fantastic. So I really appreciate that. Smash the like button for this video as well. I'm going to need you to smash it like from multiple accounts here now that I'm starting my own network. But we have a lot of fun planned over there and just more content. And that's frankly what I'm good at. Well, kind of. The picks are bad. Content, people can seem to watch it. Anyway, I've gone on too long. Let's get to the Northern Trust. It's back at TPC Boston. Well, it used to be the Deutsche Bank over Labor Day. Then it was the Dell Technologies over Labor Day, and then last year they readjusted the FedEx Cup playoffs, cutting it from 4 events to 3 events, and they got rid of the Dell Technologies. So TPC Boston became in a rotating mix with the Northern Trust. Last year it was at Liberty National. I went down to that. That was a fun course to just go check out. It was pretty tough, to tell you the truth. TPC Boston, less tough. This is where we're getting back. So it took a year off, but if we go back and look at who's actually played well at this course over the year, the last time it was contested in the playoffs, it was the second leg of a Bryson back-to-back. He won Northern Trust, then he won in Boston at -16 the year before. 2017, Justin Thomas, -17. Rory, the bad Rory McIlroy, he ended up winning, -15. Ricky Fowler, -15. Chris Kirk won the year before that. That was the Billy Horschel, Chris Kirk cannot be stopped. They were objects at rest that season. They could not be stopped through the playoffs. They almost both played their way onto the Ryder Cup team that year. Kirk didn't get in. I think Billy Horschel did get in because he ended up winning the FedEx Cup, but Chris Kirk won at -15. Stenson -22. McIlroy -20. Webb Simpson -17. Charlie Hoffman -22. And if you go back and look before that, it's like Stricker and VJ and Tiger and Adam Scott. Like big names have played really well with this event. And besides like Kirk and maybe even Webb, it's usually guys that hit the ball a ton off the tee. Like Ricky's not a long driver versus Bryson, but in the overall scope of things, he's a pretty long driver. So TPC Boston, when we look at it, is 7,342 yards. It's a par 71, closes on a really boomer bust 18th. It's a par 5. You can get yourself in like the gorse right before the green if you try to go for it in 2. So that's always a fun ending to anything. It's on bent grass just outside of Boston. But let's take a look at the field. Head over to fantasynational.com. Again, it's fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. So we have it loaded in right now, the top 25 in the Northern Trust field. You can always just find that by going up to the top and clicking around. If you're on Wyndham right now, and you want to check out Northern Trust, super easy to do. If we just take a look, actually, I'm going to resort like I like to since the restart. That always makes things a little bit easier to track. Has it been 3 months? Has it been 4 months? I don't even remember anymore. It was at the beginning of June. So yeah, 3 months still covers it. Just strokes gained total on the whole. We have Bryson and Thomas, 1 and 2, the 2 last guys to actually win at this course. So we can see how that's trending right now. Berger, Morikawa, and Xander are still up there in total strokes gained. If we just go to tee to green, Thomas, Morikawa, Hovland, Berger, and Russell Henley. Henley had himself a nice Saturday after getting himself through the cut line at the Wyndham. We'll see if he can keep that going at TPC Boston. Probably a bit outclassed in this field, to be perfectly honest with you. You can see, despite the fact that he's 4th tee to green, 61st in DraftKings points per round. That's not great. Not great, Russ. Let's take a look at TPC Boston, the course breakdown itself. You can see there's the second easiest hole on the course is that closing par 5. You can make some eagles on it, but you can also kind of blow up a little bit. It's a 10% bogey rate, which, frankly, when we kind of take a gander at some of that's one of the lowest on the course, but it seems like this par 3 and this par 4, it just seems a bit odd where you see like a 9% bogey rate for one of the 600-yard par 5 and then a 12% bogey rate. So birdies and eagles can be had at all of these par 5s, obviously, when you look at it, but there is a bit of a danger for a blow-up for some of the field if you get a bit too aggressive. You need to be really precise with your longer irons at this course. Like when you see Rory and Stenson really pop up, it kind of leads you to believe that, either distance off the tee or long irons. A lot like TPC Harding Park was set up, to be perfectly honest with you, in the type of player that you're looking for. If we just take a look at the past events and the top 5 finishers, you'll see that, approach, always the most important stat. And I hate when people tend to freak out about this. Like, oh, I can't believe he said strokes gained approach is the most important stat. Everyone knows that. I'm sure 99% of the people watching the show know that. But when providers and content producers put that out there, it's more for the people that don't know that. You can just not get triggered and move on your way. I just find that people are real on edge lately. It's kind of crazy. But driving, the ball striking versus the putting, you're going to need to ride a hot putter here along with your irons and ball striking. Around the green doesn't seem to affect all that much. But if we kind of zoom out a little bit and look at the top 20, you'll see that the chasm between off the tee and approach grows. It's over 2 times the importance. Or is it over? Yes, just slightly over 2 times the importance. Then around the green starts getting back into it because obviously these guys aren't hitting as many greens in regulation, therefore relying more on the short game. You can see that around the green is like half of off the tee and approach is almost double what or off the tee is. So you want to take guys that can capably drive the ball and gain strokes there and smack their irons as well. This is no real difference from anything else. Par 5 scoring is way up versus the par 3s and par 4s. You don't generally see that big of a gap, but you want to be aggressive with your long irons here. You want to be able to put yourself in position to make eagles on some of these courses. I remember the last time we were doing this at this course that I was looking at Kokrak and Answer, and I was like, these guys are such jabronis in this field. And I think if we switch over to the leaderboard, how did Answer? Yeah, Answer ended up coming 7th, and Kokrak ended up coming 24th. There is a cut at this one, by the way. It's top 65 in ties. This is the last time that we'll see a cut for the rest of the season. You know how I feel about no-cut events? I don't like them at all. It's funny to see Rafa. This is from the 2018 Dell Technologies, by the way. Rough is long, green speed, super fast. The greens are soft, hitting the average. You hit more fairways than average, but only slightly more. And the scoring tends to be relatively easy. Like you can see Bryson, even though he got off to the bad start, ended up with a 63 on Saturday. It seems like conditions on Saturday were really, really easy to do. But yeah, Bryson, yeah, Finau. This could actually be a spot for Finau, to be perfectly honest with you. I know everyone says that every week, but I'm not usually on Finau. Maybe this is a super kiss of death for him. But just the way that he's coming in. CT Pan ends up playing well. The Panimal struggled on Saturday at the Wyndham, but he was starting to get it back together just a little bit. And then Rafa. If Rafa's actually like back, I'm not sure whether he is or not, but it'll be interesting to see how he finishes up at Wyndham to see if he can get himself into this tournament, because clearly this is a place where he's experienced a degree of success. Casey has a pretty decent track record here once we look through it as well. We'll go jump back to the course breakdown for a second, though. The cut line over the years, +3, +4, +4, +3. And then you have even a few times around. That should be a bit lower this year with only top 65 instead of top 70 in ties. And with the class of this field being so high, you can see, yeah, the driving accuracy percentage, 65% over 62% per tour average, so not significantly higher. They hit a few more greens in regulation, a bit easier to scramble than normal as well. But guys can go low. We've seen a few 63s, we've seen 4 62s, and it does seem like a course where bombers will definitely have the advantage. But like we saw with Harding Park, you're going to have your guys, probably not as pronounced. I think 9 out of the top 10 guys on the leaderboard of the PGA Championship we would have quantified as bombers. But it's all kind of relative to this course where shorter hitters can get it done if the irons and putting are on. Like a Webb type isn't dead here. He has one here in the past, but you go back and look like Steve Stricker, Chris Kirk. These guys aren't necessarily bombers. I'd say Ricky is probably on like the lower end. Ricky and Stenson are sort of on the lower end of not huge with the driving, but they both hit their long irons, at least in those years, exceptionally well. Driving distance about tour average, and the average proximity to the hole just a little bit longer than the average tour event. So if you want to make some 30-footers, that's good on you because you're going to jump up the leaderboard rather quickly. Once everything is loaded in, the full field is established for this. I mean, we can go take a look at it right now and take a look at tournament history. I bet I'm going to have to talk to Mike about this because, yeah, when we look at it, you'll see like Dustin over Spieth. Like that wasn't a TPC Boston. Bryson over Finau. That's because it's bringing in the Northern Trust history. So it's for the tournament itself, the tournament name, but not necessarily the course, because this is new to the Northern Trust rotation, TPC Boston, that this is giving us different courses from over the years. So that is not super helpful for right now. I'll see if I can get Mike to import in the stats from that. That's why I was going through the leaderboard this way. And you can just kind of select your view and select your year. So let's see how Bryson did it in 2018. He gained in all 3 of the categories, didn't bleed much around the greens. Finau did, although he's vastly improved that part of his game over the past 2 years. But approach and driving. We saw Rose do it with around the green, putting and driving. Rose is going to be super interesting. I felt like it's funny, when I did the DraftKings show with Raza this week and I went through all my 6K guys, they all turned out to be really good. I told him I was having such trouble at the top of the board, and that trouble turned into miscuts. I used a bunch of Justin Rose, and it was a fucking disaster. So that really blew up my spot this week, despite the fact that I have Siwoo in a bunch of lineups. It's not going to do me anything because I don't have anyone paired up with him from the top. And it's not like I was starting my lineups with Siwoo. I think the best guy that I have with him from up top is Fleetwood, but Fleetwood kind of hung back a little bit well, and then I didn't get the right combo. Like if Rose had made the cut, I would have like six of six Siwoo lineups like going at it right now with like Lowry and Duncan and Landry, guys that would need to have a good Sunday. But just couldn't get it right this week. Hopefully we can get back on track at the Northern Trust, obviously. But it's nice to see Bubba. Couldn't make a putt to save his life here. Same with Brooks. I mean, it's not a disaster, minus 1.2, but that's not going to win you any tournaments. Who did the best on the greens here? We got Bo Hossler, big shocker. Hideki, good God. And then Bryson. So only one guy really made everything all week. Like, 6 strokes to 3 strokes. If you can gain over 3 strokes putting this week and you hit your irons pretty capably, it looks like you're going to be in it. So it's not one of these like weird outlier weeks. Oh, see Woo Kim. He gained around the green and on the greens, although he is ball striking the shit out of the ball right now. Maybe Rose, after his second round, can kind of get things going a little bit. Maybe I can get suckered back in. Who knows? But you have a complete lineup of guys to choose from. So that is how everyone kind of did it. I love Mark. At the 2018, let's go back a year and check out to see how Justin Thomas was able to accomplish his feat. You can see he got to minus 17, won by 3 over Spieth, Leishman, Casey, Rahm, and Reed, and Kevin Na. But if we look at the actual strokes gain, how did they do it? Ton of strokes on approach for Thomas. And remember when Spieth was awesome? 4 off the tee, 6 on approach, and still couldn't win because JT was chipping everything in, it looks like. And Casey, the ball striking, the putting was up. So it does look like a week where if you want to kind of lean with the overall ball strikers, the most gained on approach was actually Kevin Na, my guy, losing strokes off the tee. No big surprise there. You'd think he'd drain more putts, though. That's kind of surprising. But Justin Rose pops up again. Oh, God. Oh, this is going to be a kick in the nuts, isn't it? DJ kind of pops up a little bit too. Rafa, another one who just had 2 top 20s the last 2 years it was here. Obviously, he had been playing a lot better at that moment. Just very interesting to see. Wonder where I'm going to end up going with this. Haven't made any early leans yet because do I really want to go to the very top of the board? I do. Where they've been giving us decent odds on the 20 to 40 range in the betting market. Even at the majors, even at the WGCs, that I know that Rahm's not going to be in that range. Like Casey might be in that range, but JT is not going to be in that range. Rose will probably be like 35, 40 to 1 after a bad week. Fowler will probably go into that mix. Finau will probably go into that mix. I'm curious to see where Dustin Johnson actually ends up. He's someone who kind of has the skill set for this course, and where it's not a major, maybe he can close it down. I mean, the guy wins WGCs, guys win FedEx Cup playoff events. He's won the Northern Trust before over Spieth in that playoff, which was fucking the best shot I think I've still ever seen him hit cutting that lake. Not this course, obviously, but he doesn't have the pressure, apparently, that he does at majors when it comes down to it. So let's try to build a model to see how we're going to do. Obviously, this is going to change throughout the week. We've looked at a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to go back to the breakdown just for 1 second, take a look at the par 4s. 4. So there's 8 between 400 and 500. There's 1 over 500, 2 less than 350. How long are they gettable? Let's see here. Hole 1 and hole 4. Now, a very low eagle percentage, but number 4 is the easiest hole on the course. I wonder if there's any overlap. It does look like, because the number 3 is super difficult. And even when you come through and get to the back 9, that's where all the difficult holes are. That for showdown purposes, taking guys that start on the back 9, if that's going to be like a thing this week, I assume it will be. I haven't seen this. Obviously, the tee times haven't come out yet. But if you can get guys starting on hole number 10, it does look like you have a higher percent chance at a birdie streak. So because 17, 18 rolling into 1 and 2 are, 4 of the 5 or 6 easiest holes on the course with over a 20% birdie rate. And then if you start on the front, you just get this par 3, which has a 13% birdie rate. But that's significantly down. Now, if you can birdie that one, it does look like you can pile up the birdie streak there too. It just seems like you're going to have a better chance at 17, 18, 1 and 2. Because even if you flub 17, you're probably likely to make birdie on 18 and then go 1 and 2 and give yourself an opportunity there as well. That way you can pile 2 par 5s into an actual streak. And that's really what you're looking for. So a quick breakdown and just a slight, it might not work out that way, but you're going to give yourself any opportunity you want going into a showdown slate, and it does appear like that's probably the easiest way to do it. And don't be fretting if your guys start off really poorly on the back, because three of the four toughest holes are within the first 5 holes coming out to start the day. So you could argue with, hey, you don't want your guys getting behind too early. And maybe it gives them like negative Mo, and they get really down on themselves right away coming out if they start on the back 9. But I don't believe in that sort of thing. I just rather look at the percentages and say, hey, these 4 holes are pretty easy to birdie. You have better access to them if you start on the back 9 and roll into the front. That's all I'm saying. So let's build this. Let's do a pretty rudimentary one, actually. I think I had, where's custom model 51? I don't have one built from this. I must have erased it, but we'll go TPC Boston. And then we'll save it. We'll put in our results after the fact. I don't know necessarily what I really want to be doing. Where did they say the big proximity range was here? A lot of longer iron shots, so even 175 plus. I mean, you're going to see a ton from in here. The 200 plus is just going to be from all those par 5s. I would say that, and that's highly unpredictable, to tell you the truth. It's not like you're asking guys to stick it to 3 feet from 235 away. You just want to generate eagle opportunities. But the distance of these guys now, even from 2 years ago, the key range you're probably looking at is the 150 to 175. So I'll chuck those in as the 2 key ranges to look at. I'm not going to weight them super highly because I'm going to weight approach super highly, and I don't want to like triple down on all of the same stats. And I'm going to, what else am I going to put in? Just par 5. I'll put an Eagles gained, actually, and throw that in. So let's try to readjust these so they fit us a little bit better. You're going to want your guys scoring on par 4s as well. So let's check in par 4 scoring. There's not like, we looked at the distribution. It was pretty even kind of across the board. You had the 2, the 8, then the 1 over 500. So we'll just go with relative par 4 to see how that ends up working. And it does look like you're going to need to putt a little bit, although we've seen Paul Casey and guys like that pop up and Hideki gain 5 strokes that maybe putting, not the most predictive thing, but I'll chuck it in as a 5 as well, because just putting that in as a 5 really weights against the Connors and the Ben Ann's of the world. Not to say that you wouldn't want to take them here. They're actually kind of the profile I think that I'm looking for, but it gives them some sort of negative where if we're only looking at their positive stats, of course they're going to come out at the top of the list, that we need to do something to kind of weight them back a little bit. So we'll go 12... Yeah, let's just go heavy. We'll go 15% off the tee. We saw that approach was about double. We'll go 30% there, although we're going to mix in, hit that by mistake. We'll go 5 and 5 for these 2. And then we'll put Eagles up at 5, just because with the proximity range, we're already including approach. That will all go into 1. We'll keep around the green down a little bit. Par 4 scoring we'll put up to 10%. No, I'm only at 80%. I can jack this up somewhere. Well, no, I don't know why I just hit load on that. That was probably pretty stupid. Let's go back. Let's see here. What else can we add? Maybe we'll add in opportunities gained just so we don't have to jack up approach anymore. We'll add that in for 10. Again, opportunities gained is the Fantasy National stat where we look at who has the most birdie opportunities. And maybe we'll just weight par 5s anyway. Yeah, say the hell with it and chuck it in. And we'll weight that and we'll put that at 5 and we'll crank up putting to 10. Yeah, do I want to do that? Yeah, why not? Let's see what it does. Well, again, this is not my finalized model. This is just what I'm kind of coming up with at the top of my head after the initial research. I'll try to fine tune it during the week. So now looking at the custom model, it's all loaded in the past 3 months and all the rounds since the restart. We can even cut it down to past 24 because there are some guys that are really getting up there in price. So since the restart, it actually spits out Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, Daniel Hausjerberger, Tony Finau, Russell Henley, Xander Schauffele, Henrik Norlander, Dustin Johnson, Corey Connors, even with the putting. So you can just kind of see the different types of people. Connors down on eagle rate, down on the long approach, but what does he do? Off the tee and hits his irons incredibly well. Wonder if there's any, just kind of, let's shrink this down to past 24 rounds and just give us a smaller sample of the recent form. of everything that's been going on. Only because we now have enough events where some guys have played almost every single week. Like Brooks, doesn't take weeks off anymore. I mean, maybe he should at this point. If we kind of shrink it down, nothing really changes. Jason Day is super interesting here. I wonder how he has played at this course in the past. Like that bumps up Wolf just because he had a bad start. He's number 1 in opportunities gained. Curious to see what his number is actually going to be, because he has been playing tremendously. On the recent, let's see, Dell Technologies used to be better, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before his miscut in 2018 had 5 top 25s in a row at this course. Obviously, Matthew Wolff hasn't played it, but as you can see, the approach numbers are absolutely staggering for him right now. And if we take out around the green, I mean, you wouldn't want your guy losing a ton around the green. However, if this is going to be less important here and there are fewer opportunities because guys are actually hitting a bunch of greens in regulation, that's something to look at. We can see that his bent numbers actually are pretty good putter, which I don't think that people think about Matthew Wolff. He doesn't gain a ton, but he's not a negative like I think the perception of him actually is, especially after watching the PGA where he was an absolute atrocity on the greens. If he had just made a few more of those shorties, things would have been looking up a lot more for Mr. Matthew Wolff. Who's gaining the most eagles? No, Fowler and Rory, the two guys that have won at this course in the past. We know that Morikawa, he can make some eagles. And if we just look over who's hitting their irons the closest to generate opportunities, Wolff, Henley, Hovland, Grillo, Neiman. Neiman back on bent, coming off a week where people tried to use him, didn't perform all that well at Wyndham. He could be a sneaky look here. He seems like the type of player who would do really well. Let's kind of take a gander at these long iron approaches to see guys that kind of hit up in the middle. So 150 to 175 and 175 to 200. You see JT Poston and Matthew Wolff, 1 and 2 from 150, but both inside the top 30 in both those. Same as Mackenzie Hughes. Noren actually rates out pretty well. See, Kim does well in both of those. It's probably more important for the 175, to be perfectly honest with you. But we also have Fitzpatrick and Michael Thompson from that range. Let's lean towards the 175. Just if a few of those 200s get shrunk, this could be the biggest bucket that we're looking at. Harris English, Munoz, Brooks, Perez, Jason Day, Ryan Emil, Grillo, Ben Ann, Abraham Answer, and Justin Rose, your best in the past 24 rounds from 175 to 200. So that's relatively interesting to look at. The best par 4 players, Bryson Berger, JT, Norlander, Kevin Na. Na is also 18th from that key range, 5th in putting. Man, Kevin Na gets my money every week. Fortunately, he hit twice for me for a win that I have, money to give back on Kevin Na, but maybe I'm just a sucker. And maybe he isn't in the quality of player that we should be looking for here. But Berger, I'm wondering how he's going to rebound after the poor final round at the PGA Championship. This does seem like a course where he could be really good. Opportunities gained, Wolff, Henley, Hovland, Grillo, Neiman. Ryan Moore. There's a guy that's dead to everyone. And then, when he has a good week, everyone's going to be back in on Ryan Moore. But I wonder how what were Tiger's overall numbers from the PGA? Because he has won at this course before. And if this is a fast greens and putting course, it's not on Bermuda, but we've seen him win on bent. That's not going to be the craziest thing in the world. The putting hasn't really been all that good, but did gain off the tee at the PGA and gained on approach at Memorial. Like maybe Tiger's game isn't as far away as sort of the mainstream fake news media is making it out to be. But obviously he's not Tiger right now, but if he's going to continue to trend up in the irons, your irons need to be good here where you can figure out off the tee a little bit. He's going to have a putting week where he's amazing. We know that's going to happen. So it's not like Luke List where things were going really great until he misses 3-foot putts. Tiger seems like he can get that figured out a bit higher than most. We see Sam Burns. He made an eagle this weekend. He's usually really high up on the eagle rate list, but has not been recently. Approach, who's an outlier here? Norlander, Neiman, Glover. Again, these stats will update after the Wyndham Championship. I would expect those guys to go down a little bit, although Henley, once again, is hitting his irons well, not putting whatsoever. Redmond is someone who can kind of fire up here. He's good from that 150 range. He scores really well on par 4s, hits the ball exceptionally close. Not the best putter in the world, but we'll see how that ends up going. In the FedEx Cup playoffs, you're really trying to ride some form. Don't be freaked out by bad names playing well. That's almost the Billy Horschel and Chris Kirk example. We saw Answer kind of do the same thing. We've seen Kokrak go through the playoffs and have similar success in that vein, that if guys just start getting hot, well, it's 3 weeks. It's still golf. Anything can kind of happen. So that's kind of where I would be looking at for it. Let's switch over to the Wyndham just very briefly and take a quick look at some, Siwoo. There's a kind of a pecking order right now, but if we click over to the in-tournament stats, we can get a sense of maybe some of the guys who missed the cut if we look at all the rounds. Just because I really want to look at Justin Rose's second round to see what happened, because I know he was kind of a disaster in the first round. Rose, no. Oh, yeah, because I'm looking at DraftKings round 4. He is not involved in DraftKings round 4. Let's just go to the over or DraftKings round 1. That will load everyone who was actually into the field and take a look at how Rose ended up doing. So Rose totals. There we go. We'll click on round 2 because I want to get a sense of how he was doing. Gained off the tee, gained on approach, gained putting, and if we switch over to round 1 for old Justin Rose, I'm sure it's not going to look too good. Negatives across the board. We've seen this a couple times in the past where guys just have really disastrous first rounds and rebound in the second round where you would want them to rebound in, and then all of a sudden they can go and put 4 rounds together at the next tournament. So if Rose is playing, we're going to see a few guys probably take a pass on TPC Boston. We just don't know who that's going to be as I'm recording this right now. By the time you watch it, we might know, but I'll have that in Monday's show and Tuesday's show. Like, this is still just a first look as we really go through it. If we just take a look at all rounds for the moment, we'll just look through all 3. And we'll take a look at some of the guys who missed the cut. Who missed the cut but actually played pretty well? Lahiri actually played pretty well. He is not playing next week. Neither is Furyk. Charles is on the bubble. The guy had just made a few putts and a few chips. He would actually be inside the top one. Oh, sorry, that was Danny Lee. Danny Lee was someone if he had made a few chips and made a few putts. Is Danny Lee in the field? Let's see. FedEx Cup standings. Sir Daniel Lee. Oh, Danny Lee's going to be there. He's 51st in the standings. So Danny Lee, a potential guy to look at for next week, as the ball striking was actually very crisp. But you know how Danny Lee does. He's going to make 5 birdies in a row, then bogey the next 6 holes. What have his results been like? He did make the cut at the PGA and filtered on the weekend. The Dell, mixed results. Maybe not Danny Lee, but he has the profile of a guy, of someone who no one's really going to be on, but should because of the ball striking. Here's someone, Carlos Ortiz, Charlie Hoffman. I don't know if Hoffman did enough to get in. No, that's Morgan Hoffman. Charlie Hoffman, no, 106, he's in. So he's a former winner at the Dell Technologies, and at least he's hitting his irons well at the moment. Lucas Glover lost 3.2 strokes putting in 2 rounds. We saw that he was up there on the approach list to begin with. Not a great week on approach, but almost a stroke over the 2 rounds, so nothing crazy there. Vegas isn't going to get in. I assume Ortiz is in. Yeah, 45th in the FedEx Cup standings. It's weird when you see some of the guys on the bubble who are out. Shez he lost to Webb the year that Webb won like a decade ago, but he was gaining on approaches. Spawn did well in both, minus 5 strokes putting. That's not great. Corey Connors lost 4 strokes, but the ball striking was back to where the levels where you want it to be at. And where this is going to be a smaller field with only 125 players, a higher percentage of the player pool is going to make the cut. Driving it well, Potter and Mitchell is someone you could potentially get behind. Straka is in the FedEx Cup, lost 3.1 off the tee, which is kind of crazy, but gained him and the Gim Reaper. Poor Gim. If he had just made a few fucking putts, he would have been fine. If we just focus on round 2 in particular with the guys who missed the cut. And you can just go to fantasynational.com/Mayo, click on the actual tournament. You need to have it on Wyndham if you want to look at the Wyndham stats until the tournament is actually concluded. If you're on all players or on the Northern Trust field, it'll just come up as an error because these guys, this isn't the field that we're looking at right now. It won't import the right stuff. Guys just in round 2 in particular, as a look ahead, Corey Connors, he almost like Rose, he was able to get it back together a little bit in all the facets you would want to see. He just happened to lose 4 strokes putting in 1 round. Something he does. Let's not overlook that fact, but it was nice to see the ball striking back to where it needs to be. I mentioned Rose as someone who kind of popped up. Other than that, the guys kind of missed the cut who deserved to miss the cut. Shez Reavie did gain 1.2 on approach. He doesn't normally lose that many strokes off the tee, especially in a single round. Who's that? Johnny Vegas isn't going to get himself in, but Shez, Connors, who else here? Charlie Hoffman. Oh, he must have lost. If he ended up minus for the 2 rounds off the tee, how bad was he round 1? Good God. But he's going to be in, and the ball striking is back at a comfortable course. If he can get the putting back rolling, that could be an interesting spot to go look at. Ryan Moore's iron game. What are you doing, Ryan Moore? Get your head out of your ass on this one. And Rose, Koepka did gain on approaches, but he was bad off the tee as well. I'm just curious to see just where his head is at right now. Maybe he wants to say basically fuck you to the world and go win the FedEx Cup. But I just have such a bad sense of where his game is at right now. If we look overall, Siwoo, got his approaches going in round 3. A hole in one is going to do that for you. But if we just look at ball striking overall, see Redman, List. I mean, if one of these weeks List is going to gain strokes putting, right? Right? That's got to happen. Just don't lose 4 per event. It's funny because he just made a disastrous bogey coming down the stretch. I believe it was on his 16th hole of the day, hole 7. He missed a 3-footer to get rid of his bogey-free round. And he was up at -10 for a while, but like you just switch those back over. He's at -13. Like he has a shot if he's just putting to field average for the week. Other guys from down on the leaderboard. Nice day for Zach Johnson, by the way. From down on the leaderboard, Chris Kirk actually is someone who is striking the ball really well, but not really putting and not really chipping. Obviously, he has good vibes from TPC Boston, so maybe someone to potentially look at. So List, Kirk, Josh Teeter just continues to lose strokes. Chris Baker, the birdie maker, these guys are not going to be in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Connors, even though he missed the cut, is still near the top of ball striking when it comes down to it. Landry just had a really bad day, but he's with his win at Career Builder earlier, the American Express. He's going to be there next week. So Norlander continues to strike it well again. Maybe he can find that really hot putter. Lebioda, I don't think Lebioda, Hammer and Hank is going to get himself in now. He's at 138. He'd have to have quite the round on Sunday, like a 61 to maybe get enough points. Duff Daddy is someone who just kind of kicks around. The putting hasn't really been going all that well. Glover, and Gim's not going to be there, but Glover for next week, kind of like Naismith is going to be there, although this isn't a great ball striking week for him. We're now down into the depths of just gaining like 2 strokes ball striking. We're going to need more than that out of our guys. But that's the first look for the Northern Trust from TPC Boston. You can check out all of my work up on dknation.com. Get 20% off fantasynational.com by using fantasynational.com/Mayo. Also, please subscribe to my new YouTube channel, Mayo Media Network, and tell the people about it. Tell some friends about it. The more subs, especially initially, the better it's going to do. You can find the link to that in the description. Shows will start popping up probably after 10 days, 2 weeks from now, kind of thing. I just wouldn't want anyone who is looking for fantasy rankings or the golf show or anything like that, or just looking for the Pat Mayo Experience to miss out on that. If you subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, nothing is going to change. Although I am switching podcast providers, there's bound to be a hiccup somewhere along the way there as well. So thank you all for watching. Smash a like, give me your early lean in the comment section. And if you're still in the running at the Wyndham Championship, good luck. Hopefully Siwoo can pull it through if you got some cash on old Siwoo. If not, hopefully DraftKings works out for you. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!